All right, y'all. It's Chuck Reacts. We're gonna get into this reaction into how the music industry kind of works and how people really get paid from the music, and if they even do get paid sometimes.
Grammy Award-winning producer Darius Harrison, better known as Diesel, is suing Universal Music Group for more than $6 million for unpaid royalties. Now, Diesel produced some of Lil Wayne's biggest songs on the Carter 3 album, which sold over 8.3 million albums.
Now, 8.3 million albums, that is $83 million. An album is $10 on average. So that would make this album made $83 million. That's what that means.
That's albums, by the way, not streams, but albums. That's a lot more money. He produced Lollipop, Miss Officer, and Let the Beat Build. He also produced...
So this producer produced three of the biggest songs on that album. I think Lollipop went diamond, I'm not sure, or it's close to diamond.
6 songs on Birdman's Fast Money album in 2005, and in Lil Wayne's song Shorty Bounce that was used in the movie Longest Yard. So what's going on? What's Universal doing? Let me break it down. When music producers make a track for an artist, they enter into what's called a producer agreement. In an industry standard producer agreement, the producer will usually get an upfront fee, and we call it a recoupable advance. And that producer will also get a producer royalty for each record sold, which usually ranges from 2 to 4%. Because of these...
So this video at the top, it says Lil Wayne's producer suing for $6 million and hasn't been paid a royalty in 10 years, and he's supposed to get 4% royalties. So he's trying to figure out why he hasn't been paid. This lawyer's breaking it down.
Diesel success, they gave him a 4% royalty. Now I'm going to let you in on a little secret on how Universal avoids paying producer royalties. Now this is something that almost nobody knows or even talks about, and I'm probably going to get a lot of calls about it. If an artist is signed under Universal Music Group, which can be any one of their sub-labels like Interscope, Tunechi, Cash Money, Top Dog, Republic, pretty much most of the labels are owned by Universal. See, Universal operates as the bank for all these labels, so they pay.
So Universal usually buys up all the record labels. Like they just bought QC's label, the one that Lil Baby was under. They buy all the labels up. So that's just how it goes in the music industry.
For the artist marketing and promoting, and they pay the artist their royalties. Now, here's where they get tricky with it. Although Universal pays the upfront advance to producers, they make the artist give that producer a producer agreement. So the producer has a producer agreement with the artist and not Universal. And in that producer contract, it states that the producer will only look to the artist when it comes to collecting royalties. It also states that the artist will provide the producer with a statement at least once, say, every 6 months. Now, we all know artists don't know anything about accounting, so the artist does what's called a letter of direction, which is an agreement from the artist to the label stating that the artist would like Universal Music to pay the producer directly. Makes sense, right? Well, here's an important note. That letter of direction has language in it that Universal writes in it. And that language states that Universal is only paying the producer directly as a courtesy or an accommodation for the artist, and that producer nor the artist can hold Universal responsible or liable for any royalties, and that producer cannot audit Universal for accounting, which basically...
So basically, this producer has to sue Lil Wayne to get his money because the record label is not responsible for paying the producer. That's in the contract. The artist has to pay the producer. And most artists don't even know that they have to pay their producers, so they end up never paying their producers and getting sued. So that it looks like that's what's going to happen to Lil Wayne.
Basically means that the producer never gets a royalty. That producer has to go to the artist and demand a...
It's also in the contract too. That's what he's explaining here.
Royalty, which, by the way, the artist would have no idea whether the producer was being paid or not because they're not involved in that process. And this is how Universal avoids paying royalties, because the producer nor the artist has any way to make Universal accountable for those royalties. So they're forced to hire an attorney and pay tens of thousands of dollars to get paid what they're actually owed. Now, most people don't want to waste the time and stress out, and they just give up. And Universal knows this. Well, how do I know all of this? Well, I've written hundreds of contracts for these labels for Universal, and I know their policies. Which brings me back to Diesel. He went through this painstaking runaround, and they finally said, you know what? I'm owed over $6 million. I'm going to pay an attorney, and I'm going to get my money. Eventually, Universal will settle, but it's going to be a long process because there's a long line of artists suing Universal for unpaid royalties. Remember Limp Bizkit? He's suing them because he's never been paid one royalty in his entire career? Or Iggy Azalea? The list is long. Fortunately, Diesel did sign producer contracts, so he'll eventually get his money. So if you're an artist buying beats or a producer selling beats, make sure you always do an industry standard producer contract so you can get what you are owed. And if you need a producer agreement, hit me up. I'll get you set up with one for only $49. I hope this helps. Have a great day. Grammy.
Yeah, man, I think this is looking messed up for Lil Wayne, man. It looks like he might get sued by this producer for $6 million because he hasn't been paid a royalty in 10 years. So, you know, how many other producers haven't been paid by Lil Wayne or the artists that they produced for? So I don't know how this is gonna go down. I don't know if Universal will pay it for Lil Wayne out of his budget, but that album made $83 million. So he deserves to get paid if he produced those songs, you know. Also looks like Universal's getting sued by lots of other artists for unpaid royalties, man. So I don't know what what's going on here with Universal. But it looks like it's in their contract that they can't do anything about it, and they didn't do something right on their end. That's why they're not getting paid. So tell me in the comments what you guys think. I'm out.